This is the trip I planned to Europe using less than $5,000. The 5 places I would visit in order are London, Birmingham, Versailles, Paris, and Rome. It would cost $33 to go to LAX by cab. From there, I'd fly to Heathrow Airport in London, which would cost $761. I'd stay at Palmer's Lodge Swiss Cottage, which would cost me $115 for 5 nights. The first site I'd want to see is the Palace of Westminster, and a ticket for access to the grounds plus a tour guide would cost me $100. This site has historical importance, seeing as it was where the Parliament of the UK has had many meetings for many years and continues to have them. The next site I would want to see is St. Paul's Cathedral, which would be at most $19 for admission. This cathedral is an Anglican cathedral that was built around 30 years after the Protestant Reformation. The last site I would visit is the Globe Theatre, which is a reconstruction of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. The historical importance here is that Shakespeare was a large part of the Renaissance. It would cost me $6 to get admission into one of the shows. Keep in mind, all 3 sites are within walking distance of my accommodation, so it wouldn't cost me anything extra to get from one place to another. Now, from Palmer's Lodge, I would take a cab to the train station in order to get to my next destination, Birmingham. The cab ride to the train station would be $11. From London to Birmingham would cost $7, and from the Birmingham train station to Birmingham Central Backpackers would cost an $8 cab ride. And the stay at Birmingham Central Backpackers would cost $49 for 3 nights. The first place I'd visit within walking distance is called Birmingham Back-to-Back. This is the last court of back-to-back houses that exist from the time of the Industrial Revolution. The specific type of living was thought of in order to accommodate the growing industrial city. Then I would proceed to the Museum and Art Gallery, which is significant because there are many artworks from the Renaissance. Admission is free. I would also be interested in visiting Aston Hall simply because I'm interested in the architecture of the 18th century, one of the eras we studied in this class, which we also learned about family life. This area would also be free. Then from Central Backpackers, I would take a cab to the airport, which would cost $18. From Heathrow Airport, I would arrive at Charles de Gaulle Airport and pay a $100 cab to the Hotel Premier, which would cost me $127 for 4 nights. The first place I would visit is the Palace of Versailles. It's $20 for admission. Versailles' historical importance to Louis XIV through Louis XVI is part of why I would want to visit. I would return to the palace in the coming days to visit a separate part of the excessively large estate, the garden. Admissions cost $10 per ticket. Then I would tour Marie Antoinette's estate for $14. Marie Antoinette was the last queen of France, well known for her appreciation of extravagant things, which is why her estate sounds intriguing to me. Then I would take a cab from my housing in Versailles to the Three Ducks hostel in Paris, which would cost $54. I would then pay $177 for 3 nights at the hostel, and the first site I'd visit is the Eiffel Tower because it is a beautiful piece of architecture that was most likely a result of the Industrial Revolution. The building of the Louvre itself has a large history dating back to medieval times, though it wasn't a museum until the French Revolution. Admission into the museum is $62, and since this destination isn't particularly close to the Three Ducks hostel, it would cost $18 to get a cab there. Lastly, in Paris, I would visit the Basilica Cathedral. Admission is $10, and it's also far from where I would be staying, so a cab there would cost $42. The cathedral is an abbey church from medieval times and shows the first use of all elements of Gothic architecture, one of the types of architecture that we learned about in this class. Now, Rome is my chosen leisure city, though I still chose some historical places to visit. St. Peter's Basilica is $21 to get in and is historical in that it's an Italian Renaissance church. I would then visit the Vatican Art Museum, which costs $32 to be admitted. I want to visit this place mainly so I could see the artworks that have been amassed by popes over the centuries. The last place I would want to visit is the Sistine Chapel, because I want to see the intricate working of Michelangelo on the ceilings. Admission would cost me $62, and at the end of this trip, it would cost another $62 to go to the airport, and the flight back home from Rome would cost me $788. In conclusion, I would have fun on this trip because it involves much of my interests, including architecture and art. I'd be comfortable doing this because I don't have an issue with traveling alone, but I do have a bad sense of direction, so that might be a challenge. Also, I don't feel I would do this trip in the future, mainly because by the time I'd have the money to go on this trip, I would probably have forgotten it by then. And the total cost of this trip, not including food and souvenirs, would be $3,452. Thank you.